A lie will travel halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put its shoes on. Well, this lie traveled around the world a few times, made its way into the Biden campaign talking points, and ended up on the Senate floor. The Charlottesville lie.
And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation.
Biden used the Charlottesville March and the president's response to it, which Biden and many others found to be lacking, and used that as an argument to say that Donald Trump should not be president.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
We're closely following the terrible events unfolding in Charlottesville, Virginia.
We have a guy in the White House, I'm not going to say a name, and that was given a chance to say we're about love and not hate.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. We have to come together as Americans with love for our nation and true affection, really, and I say this so strongly, true affection for each other. Above all else, we must remember this truth. No matter our color, creed, religion, or political party, we are all Americans first.
What I think most people, especially in middle America, really dislike about this president is the sense that at a basic level, he is an indecent human being. And the comments that he made at Charlottesville bring that home, I think, more powerfully and more pointedly than anything else he has said.
If the press were not fake and if it was honest, the press would have said what I said was very nice.
And if you were a better president, you would have said something very nice.
We must love each other, respect each other, and cherish our history and our future together. So important. We have to respect each other. Ideally, we have to love each other. And you had some very bad people in that group, but you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
So that line, as you might imagine, set off a storm at the time and reportedly sparked Joe Biden's decision to run.
With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
Except that isn't all he said. And they knew it then, and they know it now. Watch this.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
There were fine people on both sides. This is who we have as the President of the United States.
And the did not denounce the Klan, the alt-right, and those Nazi.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
This might be today the first time the news networks played those full remarks in their context. And how many times have you heard that President Trump has never denounced white supremacists? Now you in America know the truth.
You know, I think this is one of the things that makes people dislike the media so much in this country, Susan, is that you selectively edit, just like Senator Harris did, comments that President Trump and I and others on our side of the aisle make. I mean, Senator Harris conveniently omitted, after the president made comments about people on either side of the debate over monuments, he condemned the KKK, neo-Nazis, and white supremacists, and has done so repeatedly. You're concerned that he doesn't condemn neo-Nazis. President Trump has Jewish grandchildren. His daughter and son-in-law are Jewish. This is a president who respects and cherishes all of the American people.
In the other group also, You had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
Witnesses have told us that in fact both sides were antagonizing for a fight.
What about the alt-left?
But the idea to compare these racists and not condemn them and the neo-Nazis and compare them to people who were genuinely decent Americans coming forward and saying, stop this. It was like, I don't remember that ever happening in an administration before.
What about the fact they came charging with clubs in their hands, swinging clubs?
In fact, that's true. Witnesses tell NBC News there were people on both sides who seemed ready for a fight. And some counter-protesters were armed with clubs, some with pepper spray.
When I make a statement, I like to be correct. I want the facts. This event just happened. In fact, a lot of the event didn't even happen yet as we were speaking.
Welcome back to The Lead, the national lead now. By most accounts, almost all of the people protesting against the hateful bigots, the Nazis and Klansmen in Charlottesville, were peaceful, but not all of them. In their midst was a sometimes very violent group of protesters that call themselves Antifa, known to not only clash with bigots, but also sometimes with police and occasionally storefronts.
This group's main goal is to take on government and capitalism.
Before I make a statement, I need the facts. So I don't want to rush into a statement. So making the statement when I made it was excellent.
Antifa is any group that's willing to stand up against fascists by any means necessary.
Or, as we've seen recently, violence, fires, property damage, hand-to-hand combat at protests across the country.
Explain to me the reasoning behind fighting.
And historically, that's what's worked. You have to make it speak in a language that they understand, and sometimes that is violence.
Most are local groups that recruit and communicate through social media. Violence and property destruction led to more than 200 arrests in Washington, D.C. on Inauguration Day. Prosecutors say they were wearing masks covered head to toe in black, a tactic the Antifa call Black Bloc.
Burning cars and smashed windows. Protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks. Facing off with thousands of officers on site. The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
This checkpoint is closed!
Before the swearing-in ceremony even began, protesters tried to block checkpoint entrances. Several officers injured during the protest today, and more than 100 people arrested.
So I only tell you this. There are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.